Hello, I'm William Abel, and this is Common Sense. I'd like to thank GCD Network for helping sponsor his program. If you'd like to help sponsor his program, or if you'd like to go ahead and help with the next congressional campaign in 2026, you can do so at the Cash App. The username is $Abel TX31. That's $ABEL TX31. It's right above me, right here. So last week we were talking about the confirmation process for Trump's picks. Today we're going to go over Biden's nominations and how their confirmations went, and how Republicans push through a list of all the people out there. And Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, Secretary of the Treasury, Deborah Haaland, Secretary of the Interior. She was confirmed 5140. Tom Vilsack, Secretary of Agriculture, 92-7, confirmation. Gina Raimondo, Secretary of Commerce, 84-15. Marty Walsh, Secretary of Labor, confirmed 68-29. Julie Su, Secretary of Labor, has NA listed. So we got Xavier Becerra, Secretary of Health and Human Services, 50-49, confirmation. Marcia Fudge, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, she was confirmed 66-34. Pete Buttigieg, Secretary of Transportation, 86-13. Jennifer Granholm, Secretary of Energy, 64-35. Miguel Cardona, Secretary of Education, was confirmed 64-33. Dennis McDonough, Secretary of Veterans Affairs, that's 87-7, confirmation. Alejandro Mayorkas, Secretary of Homeland Security, 56-43. Catherine Tai, U.S. Trade Representative, 98-0. Avril Haines, Director of National Intelligence, 84-10. Linda Thomas Greenfield, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, 78-20. Cecilia Rouse, Chairwoman of the Council of Economic Affairs, 95-4. Jared Bernstein, Chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, 50-49. Neera Tanden, Director of the, Shalonda Young, Director of the Office of Management and Budget, confirmed 61-36. Michael Reagan, Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, that was 66-34. Isabel Guzman, Administrator of the Small Business Administration, 81-17. Arati Prabhakar, Presidential Science Advisor and Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, 56-40. Now, with that being said, obviously, you had most Democrats vote for all of them. The following names are all the senators who voted yes for every last one. Yeah, Christian Sinema from Arizona, Mark Kelly from Arizona, Dianne Feinstein from California, Alex Padilla from California, Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut, Chris Murphy from Connecticut, Tom Carper from Delaware, Chris Coons from Delaware, John Ossoff from Georgia, Raphael Warnock from Georgia, Brian Schatz from Hawaii, Dick Durbin from Illinois, Tammy Duckworth from Illinois, and then you have your first Republican that voted for every one of his nominations, who was Susan Collins from Maine, Republican. It's funny because she's already voted against some of Trump's picks. Angus King, Independent from Maine. Benjamin Cardin from Maryland. Chris Van Hollen from Maryland. Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. Ed Markey from Massachusetts. Debbie Stabenow from Michigan, Gary Peters from Michigan, Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, Tina Smith from Minnesota, John Tester from Montana, Jackie Rosen from Nevada, Catherine Cortez Masto from Nevada, Maggie Hassan, New Hampshire, Robert Mendez from New Jersey, who, as we talked about last week, was convicted being a foreign agent for Egypt, but we can talk about that later. Cory Booker from New Jersey, Ben Ray Lejeune from New Mexico, Martin Heinrich from New Mexico, Chuck Schumer from New York, Kristen Gillibrand from New York, Ron Wyden from Oregon, Jeff Murphy from Oregon, Robert P. Casey from Pennsylvania, Jack Reed from Rhode Island, Patrick Leahy from Vermont, Mark R. Warner from Virginia, Tim Kaine from Virginia, Maria Cantwell from Washington, Patty Murray from Washington, Joe Manchin from West Virginia, Tammy Baldwin from Wisconsin, Michael F. Bennett from Colorado. Oh, I'm sorry. Michael F. Bennett from Colorado. He had 20 yes votes and 1 no vote. So the following names had 20 yay votes and 1 no vote. So you had John Hickenlooper from Colorado, Janine Sheehan from New Hampshire, Sherrod Brown from Ohio, and Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island. Then you run into the second Republican, who is Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. She had 19 yes votes, 1 no vote, and 1 no vote, or did not vote. And oddly enough, she's also one of the ones who's been voting against President Trump's current nominees. Then you had Rob Portman from Ohio with 19 yes votes, 2 no votes. Mitt Romney, 19 yes votes, 2 no votes. Bernie Sanders, independent, who had 19 yes votes, 1 no vote, and 1 did not vote. Mazie Hirono, she had 17 yes votes and 4 did not votes. Lindsey Graham, 17 yes votes, 4 no votes. Chuck Grassley, he had 16 yes votes, 5 no votes. Mitch McConnell, 16 and 5. Mike Rand, 16 yes, 5 no. Shelley Moore Caputo, 16 yes, 4 no, 1 did not vote. Roy Blunt, 15 yes, 5 no, 1 did not vote. Deb Fisher, 15 yes, 6 no. Richard Burr, 15 yes, 4 no, 2 did not vote. John Cornyn, unfortunately from the state of Texas, 15 yes, 6 no's. Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, 15 yes, 6 no's. Dan Sullivan, 14 yes, 6 no, 1 did not vote. Todd Young, 14 yes, 7 no's. Tom Tillis, 14 yes, 5 no, 2 did not vote. Bill Cassidy, 13 yes, 8 no. Roger Wicker, 13 yes, 8 no. John Thune, 13 yes, 8 no. Jerry Moran, 12 yes, 6 no, 3 did not vote. Clyde Hyde Smith, 12 yes, 8 no, 1 did not vote. Kevin Kramer, 12 yes, 9 no. James N. Inhofe, 12 yes, 7 no, 1 did not vote. Mike Crapo, 11 yes, 9 no, 1 did not vote. John Hoeven, 11 yes, 10 no. James E. Risch, 10 yes, 11 no. Steve Daines, 10 yes, 11 no's. James Langford, 10 yes, 11 no's. John Boozman, 9 yes, 12 no's. Mike Braun, 9 yes, 12 no's. Joni Ernst, 9 yes, 12 no. John Kennedy, 9 yes, 12 no's. Ben Sass, 9 yes, 12 no's. Mike Lee, 9 yes, 12 no's. Cynthia Loomis, 9 yes, 10 no's. 2 did not vote. Marco Rubio, 8 yes, 11 no's. 2 did not vote. Roger Marshall, 8 yes, 12 no's. 1 did not vote. Pat Toomey, 8 yes, 6 no's. 7 did not vote. Richard Shelby, 7 yes, 14 no's. Tim Scott, 7 yes, 13 no's. 1 did not vote. John Brasso, 7 yes, 12 no's. 2 did not vote. Tommy Tuberville, 6 yes, 15 no's. Bill Haggerty, 6 yes, 14 no's, and 1 did not vote. Rand Paul, 5 yes, 14 no's, 2 did not vote. Tom Cotton, 4 yes, 17 no's. Marsha Blackburn, 4 yes, 13 no's, 4 did not vote. Rick Scott, 3 yes, 18 no's. Ted Cruz from Texas as well, 3 yes, 18 no's. And then Josh Hawley, 2 yes, 19 no's. The reason I'm pointing this out is because you have all these Republican senators, some that voted for every one of Joe Biden's selections, saying they can, on ethic reasons, vote for these people. However, when we go down the list of all the nominees, Blinken, Yellen, Alston, Garland, and the list goes on and on, there should have been some red flags there with them too, but they had no problem at all voting and giving Biden the cabinet he wanted, which realistically, I really don't have a problem with that. The president should be able to have the people he wants in the positions, but we're looking at the double-edged sword here. We've really got to take a look at how these senators vote and hold them accountable, because otherwise you're just going to keep doing the same thing they've been doing, and that's not going to be good for us, our country, or the direction we want to go. So next I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get into some of the reports from Elon Musk and Doge. So Elon Musk reports Treasury officers were always instructed to approve payments, even to known fraudulent and terrorist groups. They have never denied a payment in their career, not even once in the last 22 years. The acting director of the Treasury, David A. Lebrock, stepped down over allowing Doge access to the records. There's been over $1 billion in DEI contracts that have been terminated in the federal government, including $112,899,940 Department of Agriculture with 11 contracts, $59,345,341 from the Department of Health and Human Services that had a total of 15 contracts, $43,274,837 Department of Homeland Security with 7 contracts, $45,180,000 from FAA that had 4 contracts, $516,805,392 Office of Personnel Management with 3 contracts, and $375,138,197 from USAID, 7 contracts. Now, that's just a small snippet of some of the bigger item ones, but Department of Education, every department had all these DEI contracts. The USAID spends $40 billion plus in taxpayer dollars to fund foreign aid, including $45 million for DEI scholarships in Burma, $520 million for consult ESG investments in Africa, $1.2 billion in awards to undisclosed recipients. Eliminated $50 million for condoms for Gaza, $38 million for World Health Organization, which we are no longer a part of, but they were ready to send out the check to them. We got $15 million for condoms for the Taliban in Afghanistan, because priorities, people. $47,000 for transgender opera in Colombia. $32,000 for a Peruvian transgender comic book. $20,000 for drag shows in Ecuador. $500,000 grant for atheism in Nepal. USAID spent tens of millions to procure contraceptives like oral contraceptives and condoms for other countries. I don't know what their weird obsession is, but yeah, all that's cut now anyway, so it don't matter now. $2.2 million for the Federal Glitter Cleanup Task Force. $1.5 million for the Bureau of Alarm Clock Testing. $700,000 for National Ice Cream Cone Structural Integrity Lab to determine why ice cream cones leak. $1.2 million Federal High Five Coordination Bureau. $1.8 million for the Department of Sock Pairing. And then we got $600,000 for National Pretzel Untwisting Initiative. $2.3 million for the Federal Balloon Animal Training Academy. $900,000 for the Bureau of Mailbox Feng Shui, $1.4 million for the National Bubble Wrap Stress Relief Study, $3 million for the Office of Puddle Depth Measurement, $600 million a year on sushi, and that was bought through the Department of Defense. It was $230,000 a month spent by the IRS on cinnamon roast K-cups for their headquarters, where 92% of the employees work from home. They were also spending $1,280 per plastic cup that they had for their office. I talk about all the wasteful spending in the federal government all the time, and this is just more of the same. It's like, at this point in time, I wish I was surprised and shocked by the spending here, but I truly and really I'm not. And the sad thing is we don't hear about this. Luckily, Trump had created the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, and the likes of people like Rand Paul that will go ahead and expose this. But a lot of these other representatives don't, because they don't want you to know about this. This is the kind of fluff that gets thrown in all these omnibus bills. And every or most of the congressmen will go ahead and throw their own little fluff in. So they're like, okay, well, I'll ignore your fluff as long as you ignore mine, and we can both get what we want, even though it's not helping anybody. And the amount of money that we spend overseas, countries like Egypt, Ukraine, Israel. I actually got a chart. I'll bring it up. I'll get a copy of it and I'll put it up on the screen next week. But it's ridiculous, and we need to start holding our congressional members accountable, because they're not fighting for us, or very few of them are. A lot of them just go ahead and they want to spend that money because a lot of them are getting funding for their campaigns through the people that are benefiting from these grants and from this money, or it's just coming straight back into them in their back pockets. We all see, like with the stock trades, and how they all seem to make the right moves at the right time, right before a stock crashes, and they buy stocks that are shooting up like nobody's business the next day after they purchase large quantities of shares. So next, I'm going to go ahead and jump into talking about tariffs. So effective yesterday, Trump had imposed 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and 10% tariffs on China. A lot of this has to do with bad trade deals, for one, immigration, the drugs, and the cartel violence, which right now in South Texas, there's a lot of the cartel violence because, well, we're closing up the border. And that's cutting into the cartel's business. But Canada decided to go ahead and they're going to impose tariffs on the U.S. The problem is 77% of all of Canada's exports come to the U.S. 17% of the U.S. exports go to Canada. 80% of Mexico's exports come to the U.S., while 16% of the U.S. exports go to Mexico. So basically what that's saying is they get a good large portion of their GDP and make a lot of money from the exports coming into the U.S. We hit them with tariffs. Yes, the prices for those goods are going to go up. But luckily, since we're the United States, everybody wants to come into our market. We had plenty of options where we don't have to buy the Canadian goods. And realistically, with our exports going up to Canada and with the tariffs put on that, you already have two companies. Let me see, which one were they? It was Midday Squares and Flourish Pancakes, which are two of the fastest growing food companies in Canada. We're already talking about moving down and setting up shop and getting all they're moving all their operations to the U.S. to avoid the tariffs, because we are their biggest consumer. That's how it works with a lot of Canadian companies. They get a lot of their business through the United States. So they're going to be losing a lot of businesses. A lot of the businesses are going to suffer in Canada. And the same goes with Mexico, because Mexico's trying to do the same thing. And what's going to happen is, if when Canada decides to impose tariffs on us, Trump's just going to up them to 50%. It's going to crash their economies a hell of a lot quicker before it hurts us, and we really start feeling any kind of a pinch. Because the tariffs are going to hit Canada, it's going to be felt almost immediately. So Canada holds their elections this year, and they better hope Pierre Poilievre wins. He has a common sense approach, and I believe he would be a good partner with the U.S., ensuring both countries benefit. And that's one of the key things. Canada has taken advantage of the United States for so many years, and they like it that way. They don't want a level playing field. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Pierre. I mean, I can't vote. All I can do is sit back and watch. But I've done some looking into him and everything, and honestly, I think he's the best chance for Canada to survive without becoming the 51st state, which, I mean, it may be too late. They may have no other option but to become the 51st state of the United States. We'll have to wait and see how all that plays out. So money collected from tariffs in 2023 came out to be $3.83 trillion, or $80 billion per country. Basically, it was a 2% tariff. Now, prior to 1913, our government was completely ran and funded by tariffs. And that's kind of the direction Trump wants to take us back into. That would take care, or that would be, with that being said, if we start running the country with tariffs and everything, we start making these countries pay to enter into our market, we can actually eliminate income tax. Corporate tax rates can come down significantly more. As I've talked about in the past, it used to be 38%. Then in 2018, it got dropped down to 21%. And realistically, I could see that number dropping down even further to 12%, 10%. And it allowed the U.S. companies to be better aligned to compete with all the goods coming in from overseas. So in 2023, the government collected in taxes $4.7 trillion. So when you think about it like that, we're paying a significant amount of money to the government. And as I've listed off here, and as I've talked about in the past, where that money goes and how it's spent is ridiculous. Honestly, I'd much rather the government just use tariffs. And then when they go ahead and blow the money on stupid shit like they have in the past and like they currently were, and hopefully we'll be able to get a lot more of this stuff stopped here in the next month or two. It's not our money. We're not going ahead and suffering due to it. Now, whether or not Congress will go ahead and actually get on board with that, that's where I'm kind of skeptical, because Congress is going to look at it like, well, we got all this money coming in from tariffs, plus we got all this money coming in from income taxes, and nobody fights us over that. So why should we get rid of it? We can keep it. Then we got more money to blow on stupid shit instead of paying down our national debt. I'm hoping Trump will go ahead and use the tactics that he's known for to go ahead and make it happen. But yeah, I can definitely see some pushback from members of Congress in both the House and the Senate, because realistically, there's a lot of them there I don't trust. You have a lot of people that say, oh, we got to vote red no matter who. It's like, well, what we need to do is we need to start looking in the primaries and making sure we're putting the best guy running on the Republican platform up for the general elections. Because government or Republicans are supposed to stand for smaller government, but yet every year, every day, every month, you hear all these Republicans trying to push shit down our throats that's going to create more government, bigger government. That's the last thing anybody needs in their life. So another way this is going to hurt Canada especially is Canada spends more on their social services than their military. They rely heavily on the U.S. military to assist them if needed. It's Canada is really taking advantage of us, and we're allowing them to go ahead and use us in this manner. And realistically, Trump's like, yeah, this ain't going to work anymore. It's either got to be a more level playing field or we're not going to be doing it at all. And it's going to crush the Canadian economy. I wouldn't be surprised to see something settled with this within the next week or two, if it lasts even that long. So my time is coming to an end here. But once again, I'd like to thank GCD Network for helping sponsor this program. Once again, my name is William Abel. This was Common Sense. If you'd like to go ahead and help donate money to the next congressional campaign running in 2026, or if you'd like to help offset the cost for this show, you can feel free to go ahead and donate a Cash App at $AbelTX31. That's $Abel, ABEL, TX